This country is a mighty weird place. Normally, weird can be funny, if not downright hilarious, but, in Zimbabwe, weird can border on life and death. As a matter of fact, on the issue I am about to discuss, this can easily become a matter of an entire nation's security. What I read recently is one of those matters. So the government of Zimbabwe is seriously contemplating purchasing a new presidential helicopter as a result of recent reports of breakdowns and forced landings of the Air Force of Zimbabwe (AF's) chopper used by President Emerson Mnangagwa, which were largely attributable to the antiquated nature of the entire fleet. On the surface, the idea of a new mode of air travel for the president is a noble one, considering how his life is at potential risk with the continued use of the current clearly outdated and overused fleet. In fact, 4 people, 3 Air Force personnel, and a child in a house tragically lost their lives in a harrowing AF's helicopter crash on April 23, 2021. Besides so many other reported incidents in other parts of the country. The case for new military equipment and hardware can never be argued as a matter of national security. However, this is not what we are hearing from the government of Zimbabwe. What the Information Ministry Permanent Secretary, Nick Mnangagwa, said on 11 November 2021 in response to a Newsday report alleging Ed Mnangagwa mid-air scare was that, regardless of the veracity of the claims, nonetheless, a case for a new, safe and dynamic presidential helicopter had been made. Granted, the president clearly needs a new, safe and dynamic helicopter, but should all these dangerous incidents actually not make a case for something even more urgent and imperative for the country as a whole? Do these mid-air scares and forced landings not speak to the immediate need for new, safe, dynamic helicopters for the entire Air Force of Zimbabwe? Let us remember that the president obviously travels with the best the country has to offer, and if this best means a helicopter that embarrassingly and frequently breaks down, then what does that say about the rest of the choppers and, by extension, our entire military hardware? Does this not paint a very disturbing picture of a country whose national security is severely compromised? As such, should the case here not be on our collective national security rather than an individual, no matter how important he may be? If the Zimbabwe regime had its priorities right, something they have displayed a troubling deficiency, then our territorial integrity and national sovereignty would be topping the list, instead of merely focusing on preserving the life of the president. In fact, as much as I am not much of a numbers person, as writers seldom are, I would think the costs involved in procuring a presidential chopper will be much more than 2 or so good military ones. We all know that our leaders love the lavish and plush, even if that is at the already suffering and overly burdened taxpayers' expense, and the envisioned presidential helicopter will be no exception. Yet, if the government were to acquire 2 or 3 new, safe and dynamic AF's helicopters, presumably at more or less the same cost as an extravagant presidential one, the country's head of state can always use one of them when needed. On the other hand, a purely presidential helicopter bought specifically for that purpose will practically be a white elephant, as it will spend most of its time parked wherever they keep such things. Let the primary focus be the people of Zimbabwe, not only one person of Zimbabwe. It is time that the ruling elite stopped being selfish by thinking only of themselves and their own luxuries, but placed the interests of the country first. If the ruling elite are that eager for a life of opulence, let them buy their own private jets, using their own monies, and leave public funds purely for public use. Tendai Ruben Bafana is a social justice activist, writer, author, and political commentator. Please feel free to contact him on WhatsApp, call +263,715,667,700 +263,782,283,975 or calls only +263,788,897,936 +263,733,399,640 or email bafantindaraban73@gmail.com.